Hey, here at Flagship Realty Group, we charge a lease renewal fee to our property owners. Sometimes we get asked what that fee includes, and we feel like it's a huge value to our owner client because we do put a lot of time into the renewal process for lease renewals. A lot of other companies may not put as much into the lease renewal process as we do. They may just say, well, it's time for renewal, and they send it out. I've actually had some companies say we don't actually have a renewal process because we don't want the tenant to remember that their lease is up because that'll cause them to move, and then we've got to deal with a vacancy and a turnover, etc. We at Flagship Realty Group take it a little bit different aspect there. We want tenants to renew. We want to know that they're going to be committed for another 12 months. That's how you as an investor client make more money, is by not having those kind of turnovers. And tenants, believe it or not, they remember when their leases come up for the most part. So our lease renewal process is very detailed. We do a tenant lease evaluation. Okay, so we look at the tenant payment schedule. We want to see if they've been paying late on a very regular basis, if they've had any bounce checks, NSFs for credit card payments, things along those lines. That's the first step. We're going to look at that. If they've had a bunch of that, they've had some of that, we may not want to renew that tenant. That's going to be our advice as your property managers. We're also going to evaluate their maintenance request. Okay, if we feel that they have been petty on putting in a bunch of maintenance requests and they're trying their best to spend as much of the owner's money as possible, we may take that into account as well as far as our renewal, and that may factor in heavily in a not so positive way for them if they've been that way. And unfortunately, we have some tenants that have been petty at times. So the property expenses is part of the renewal evaluation. The other thing we want to do is make sure, have they had any lease term violations? Have they had any HOA violations? Have they had any city code violations during their tenancy? Those factors will come into play. We really look back and we want to see those things and make sure they haven't had any of those. Last thing we do is an on-site assessment of the property. Now, this is not a basic assessment where you may see or people say, yeah, we go to the property and they ride by and they just look and it looks okay and yeah, let's renew them. Or they just knock on the front door, tenant says, come in, they walk in, they eyeball, hey, here it is, and then they walk out, they're gone in 30 seconds. This assessment we feel like is a good benefit to our property owner clients. And that assessment is we make an appointment with the tenant, we go to the property, whether they're home, whether they're not, however the appointment schedule happens. And we walk through the property, we look exterior and we go interior, and we take pictures. So there'll be pictures associated with this assessment report. We're going to verify there's not any negligent damage. We're going to verify that there's not any unauthorized pets or occupants. We're also going to verify, we're going to look in maybe under the sinks, under the cabinets and the sinks in the kitchen and the bathrooms, make sure there's not a water leak maybe the tenant doesn't know about. We don't want to have those kind of things that a tenant may not know about causing ongoing problems. Another thing we're going to do as our on-site assessment is verify, test that the smoke detectors are in place and working. Okay, not every time that happens. Sometimes one has got a beeping battery. If that's the case, we're going to make sure that gets changed. If the smoke detector is missing, maybe the tenant took it down and put it in the kitchen drawer and is going to change the battery tomorrow. Everything happens tomorrow. We try to avoid that as well. That's where these assessments come into play. We're also going to check the air filters in the HVAC return system. Changing those is super important because if they haven't been changed, they're clogged up. That causes unnecessary strain on your HVAC system, which in turn can cost you more money. So that assessment report is actually shared with our property owners through the owner portal, and that is a huge value of our lease renewal process and the lease renewal fee that's associated with it.